Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! To give some background, my grandmother is a hardcore Catholic former nun. I was extremely strict with my dad and with me. My dad got his 17-year-old girlfriend drunk and pregnant, which is obviously a huge no-no in a Catholic church. My grandma basically pressured my mom to convert to Catholicism and marry my dad, and later they had 2 more kids. But because I was born out of wedlock, I am the black sheep. And not just by grandma, my entire dad's side will never be happy with me, and they hate me and my mom. For reference, I'm 24 and my sisters are 22 and 20. The youngest just moved out with her partner, but neither have jobs, and the middle one and her fiancé are extremely financially irresponsible and live with my parents and just expect to have everything handed over to them. I'm out of the house with a professional job, married and have a child, and have been doing really good for myself, and I am the disappointment. My grandma was extremely strict and abusive, specifically to me. She's yelled at me multiple times, calling me the child of the devil, a demon, and so on. She has thrown stuff at my face for no reason, and I wasn't allowed to have any privacy at her house. I always had to have the bedroom door open. She would sit at the foot of my bed until I fell asleep, and I had to spend every weekend and break from school with her until I started working at 15. And she would scream at me if I locked the bathroom door. You know, you get the idea. She would also threaten to call the cops if we didn't comply with her, and there were multiple instances where she would call the cops if we didn't answer our phones. Like, she's called at 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. on separate occasions, and I have woken up to cops knocking at my door. And yes, this has happened when I'm at home and out of town, where I didn't even tell her where I was staying. She's psycho. So on with the story. I actually just found out the other day that she did this, so that's why I'm sharing this now. Anyway, when I was 20, I decided to move out with a couple friends. My grandma demanded that I give her a key to the duplex, and I refused for multiple reasons. In the first place, I don't need my grandma being able to come over whenever she wants, especially since one of my roommates was my boyfriend. In the second place, we threw a lot of get-togethers, and I don't need her lecturing my friends that Dungeons and Dragons and anime and all of that are tools of the devil, and we need to all go to church with her. And in the third place, we had all agreed to not give out copies of our keys to any family members, and I'm not about to have my friends' privacy invaded as well, because my grandma just can't handle not having control of every little part of my life. I mean, she still called multiple times every day and found excuses to try to come over as much as possible. And every time for the first couple months, she kept demanding that I give her a key to our place, and I kept refusing. Well, at one point, my youngest sister was spending the night and my grandma dropped her off. We were gonna go do some shopping, but I couldn't find my keys. I'm looking everywhere and I can't find them anywhere. So my grandma offered to pick up what I needed to make dinner. I reluctantly agreed and went back to looking for my keys. They, somehow, were on that bar. I didn't think much of it at the time because I do stuff like that all the time. But my sister told me the full story. Apparently the next day when my grandma picked her up, she bragged to her how she stole my keys when I wasn't looking, and that she had made herself a copy of the keys so she can go inside whenever she wanted. Now, she's never barged in while I'm home, so I'm guessing she was coming in when no one was home and going through everything. And it's justified, you know, because she's just making sure we were making good Catholic choices. It also wouldn't be the first time she's gone through my stuff when I'm not home, because she would do the same thing to me at my parents' house and then berate me if she found things she didn't like. Apparently, she has been trying to steal my keys for this house too, but she hasn't been able to figure out where I keep my keys. I keep my keys in our bedroom in the far back of the house. I will not have my keys around her for this exact reason. This was not about attacking Catholicism. I know a lot of wonderful people that are Catholic. Some people just take it to the next level and make others' lives a living hell using religion. And I have a big fat problem with those kinds of people. That's all what this was. So let me share this crazy story that happened just the other night. My husband and I were having this awesome dinner, just a regular night out as a couple, and we were having a blast, laughing and chatting like old friends. As the night winded down, we decided to stop by the grocery store real quick to grab a few things we needed. Little did we know that regular trip would turn into a series of entitled craziness. So there we were, cruising towards the grocery store. And just as we pulled into the parking lot, my husband's phone starts ringing. Of course, it's a work call. He was totally engrossed in that conversation, and I just couldn't bear to sit there waiting, so I told him I'd dash in, grab the stuff, and be back before he even knew it. I strolled into the store, fixated on being in and out in a flash, and I managed to locate the item I was after, and while standing in line, I spot her. Our Mad Karen, with a perfectly sculpted hair, the disapproving glare, and an aura of entitlement that you can feel from a mile away. I keep my cool and focus on my own business, just trying to get my stuff paid for and be on my way. But then I catch a glimpse of Karen slipping a couple of items from her cart right into mine. Like, what the actual heck? I couldn't believe my eyes. Did she really just trying to make me pay for her stuff? I wasn't having any of that. I spoke up. Excuse me? Those are your items. Put them back where they belong. I'm not paying for that. Well, let me tell you, things went downhill faster than a snowball on a summer day. She turned to me with this look of utter disbelief, as if I'd just insulted her entire lineage. And then she goes on this tirade about being a single mother, how her kids are starving, and how I'm some kind of heartless monster for not covering her grocery bill. I held my ground, telling her that I was only paying for my stuff and not hers. I mean, come on, why should I? Why should I even believe you? And then it happened. She actually shoves me. Like physically shoves me right there in line. I'm in shock, the cashier's in shock, and a few people in line are also in shock. The cashier asks if I want to escalate things and get a manager involved. But you know what? I just wanted that crazy lady out of my space. So I declined and finished paying for my items, and I grabbed my bags and practically sprinted out of the store, not wanting to be anywhere near her. I get outside, jump into my husband's car, and start telling him the unbelievable saga that just went down. He's fuming, ready to march in there and give her a piece of his mind. But honestly, I wasn't in the mood to let some entitled stranger ruin our wonderful evening. I convinced him that it wasn't worth it, that we should just go home and move past this bizarre encounter. As we're about to pull out the parking lot, ready to leave the whole mess behind, out of nowhere, I hear this shattering sound, glass explodes, and I feel a sharp sting on my cheek. My side window was obliterated. And there is Karen, standing there like she just won the crazy lottery. I'm in shock, my cheek bleeding from the cut caused by the shattered glass. And there she is, cussing and yelling like a banshee, screaming about how I deserve it for being stingy. I'm shouting back, asking her what on earth she's doing, and she just keeps cussing and yelling. My husband's had enough. He jumps out of the car ready to confront her. I am panicking, telling him not to do anything stupid, but he is not listening. Just as she's trying to grab a rock to threaten him with, he tackles her like a football player, pins her down and puts cuffs on her. What Karen didn't know is that my husband is an off-duty cop, and he was not happy about what just happened. He reads her rights while she's still squirming on the pavement. Backup arrives and Karen gets escorted away in the back of a police car. We decided to head to the ER to get my cheek looked at, thankfully as just a minor cut, no stitches needed. As we're sitting in the ER waiting room, my husband and I are just reflecting on the whole crazy situation. From a lovely dinner to a showdown with an entitled Karen, and then a full-blown glass-shattering drama. Life sure knows how to keep things interesting. Turns out Karen had outstanding warrants, and she gets hit with a prison sentence. Let's just say, no matter how crazy things get, it's always better to choose the high road and not let entitled folks steal your peace. Hi Reddit. This post is half to vent, but also half to check myself and make sure I'm not going crazy. My wife and I are recently married, but have been together since December 2019. Ever since then, we have had nothing but problems with my family, particularly my mom and my one sister, as well as occasionally my brother, sister-in-law, and dad. My wife and I have talked multiple times in the past few years about whether we feel like it has gotten to the point of us needing to go no contacts, but haven't pulled that trigger quite yet. This past weekend, however, and the aftermath are having us seriously considering it. I guess I just need some advice. The background and lead up. My wife and I were asked to help with a home project painting for my brother and sister-in-law's new house. The only supplies that were brought for said project was one single paint sprayer and one single roll of painting tape. Even though we had 7 to 9 people at various points who were there to help, more tape was later purchased. My wife, my mom, my sister-in-law, and I started taping up the parts that needed covering, and my brother started painting behind us. There wasn't a whole lot to tape, so once we finished, there wasn't anything to do other than sit around and wait. Eventually, my sister starts painting, and my wife and I decide around 7 p.m. that it would probably be smart to try to order food for everyone. My wife is with one group on one side of the year talking about food orders, and I'm on the other side with my mom and sister. My wife heard them yelling and was concerned, especially due to the previous history. She was concerned that something was happening, so she came over and asked what was going on. Here is a play-by-play on this conversation. Sister hands me paint sprayer and tells me, "Your turn." Oh, okay, I thought I was supposed to go get food. Too bad, Mom says. I did ask you to help paint. Well, I did help tape, Mom. Well, I didn't ask you to help tape. I asked you to help paint, didn't I? I suppose. My wife asks, "What are you guys yelling about?" Mom answers, "Oh, we were just giving him crap." Oh, okay, it just sounded like yelling. Then sister adds, "He can talk to his family without you. It's none of your freaking business." Huh? You have no right to be a freaking jerk to my mom. It's none of your business, and he can talk to his family without you around. My wife says, "I was just asking a question about my husband. Is there a problem with that?" "You didn't get to talk to my mom like that, you witch." Again, I was asking a simple question about my husband. Sister takes a couple steps towards my wife, and wife walks towards my sister. My sister is now literally centimeters from my wife's face, and my wife places her hand on my sister's chest and tells her to back off. Then my sister starts swinging. Basically, my sister started swinging on my wife, and my wife put her hands up to block her face and accidentally hit my sister in the face. After this, I pulled my sister back and my wife stepped back as well. My sister was yelling things like, "She freaking hit me, call the freaking cops," and so on. After my sister eventually seemed to calm down, I let her go, and she lunged at my wife again. And this time she got a hit in. I pulled her back again, and then my brother and sister-in-law walk up and start yelling at my wife. Sister-in-law says that my wife is making them look like trash to their new neighbors, and my brother tells us to get the hell off his property. My mom started yelling at my wife, telling her she was being a witch and that she had no right to come at her like that, even though my wife hadn't even moved yet from the spot where she was standing. Fast forward, over the past few days, we have gotten many text messages and phone calls. The gist of those is basically continuing to blame my wife and telling me that I'm a terrible brother, son, and uncle to sister's kids who were also present for this entire scenario. Additionally, we need some old tax forms for some financial paperwork we need to fill out, and while my wife's parents sent those to us as soon as they were able, my parents are holding them hostage and flat out refusing to give them to us. I was told that I would have to drive an hour to their house to retrieve them and have a conversation with my mom, and that my wife was not welcome to this conversation. Additionally, that my wife is no longer welcome in their house again. When we called and asked if my mom could please just email them to us and that we need them ASAP, her exact response was, "Maybe." Withholding our financial documents feels like it should be a last straw for me, but it's really hard and I want to make the right choice here. Edit number 1. Hi all, thank you for the comments. My mom finally gave us the tax returns. She had them because she has always filed for my siblings and I. In regards to everything else, my wife and I will be going no contact. We are currently sitting down making plans, putting the rest of our affairs in order to cut the ties. Edit number 2. It's the wife here. I want to clarify because I see more than a few comments talking about this. My husband intervened the second it got physical. The reason he did not intervene before that point is because during previous conversations where we have attempted to work things out with his mom and sister, they have communicated that if they have something to say to me, I'm perfectly capable of defending myself against them. I agree with this, and from the very beginning, I had always asked my husband to let me speak instead of just him. Part of this is because I'm just that type of person, but it's also mostly because my husband, due to severe anxiety and constant abuse throughout his whole childhood, shuts down when there is conflict with his family. I'm the type of person that stays very level-headed in high-stress situations, and so therefore I'm typically more equipped to defend either or both of us in those scenarios. In this case, I can handle any of them yelling at me and have no issue defending myself. I honestly prefer it. The second it got physical, however, he jumped right in. Update. We are officially no contact with my mom, sister, brother, and brother's fiancé. We decided to set a timeline for 6 months, wife's suggestion, at which point we will require them to attend family therapy with us to attempt to repair things. Basically, they will have one chance, and if they refuse to go to therapy or therapy doesn't go well, it will be permanent no contact. As of right now, things are going fairly well for us. My anxiety is a lot lower knowing that I don't have to worry about them anymore. The main thing that sucks is the letter I wrote to my nephew explaining that we won't be around for a while but we still love him a lot and can play Xbox together anytime is being withheld from him by my sister. So who knows what they all are telling him. Also, my other sister, who I'm still in contact with, is getting a lot of abuse from our family that I cut off. Her and I and our partners have always been treated badly and are the black sheep of the family. So now, since they don't have access to me, she is getting a little bit extra. She would love to cut them off as well, but it's a lot harder for her as she lives right down the street from our mom. She's hoping to move away someday soon though. It's really hard, but I know that this is the right decision and maybe one I should have made before it got this bad. But my wife and I are just hoping to go forward and live our best lives. On the plus side, now that I don't have those jerks interfering, my sister that I didn't cut off, and I can actually build our relationship. It was hard to do that previously as my mom always got in the way on both ends, but now she can't. Thank you everyone for your comments. It helped me realize that even though it's hard, and I have been conditioned my whole life to stick by my family no matter what, they are not treating me like family and I deserve better, and my wife absolutely deserves better as well. I have been picking up some of her favorite things regularly as part of an apology, and I'm hoping that I can continue to work with her and our therapist to be the best husband and to put her first. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.